Hey, I'm back! It's the fact that I'm really excited to see what's gonna happen next. So anyway, I woke up with a nostalgic feeling. I found myself on a narrow bed in the infirmary. Looking up at the white ceiling, I gently nodded off. My memory slowly came back to me, flooding in the cosmic wail and saving Sara. Sara coming back to life. My fever worsening and then my collapsing. I looked over to the bed next to mine. Sara. Sara was sleeping on the bed next to me. Her breathing was regular and her cheeks flushed a healthy pink. Feeling a bit relieved, I let myself have doze. From far away I could hear faint voices. They seemed to come from an incredible distance and were all jumbled together, but they sounded like Tsugumi and Takeshi. Their voices echoed slightly. The words were too faint for me to make out what they were saying. They were talking about Hamel or Harmelin, something. Words that I thought I had heard before, but the sounds quickly changed in my mind to meaningless garble. They're probably talking about Himmel, the Himmel door. After a while, the voices stopped. Out of habit, I touched my pinky to the thumb of my left hand. It felt a bit strange. I lifted my left hand and stared at the thumb. Something was strange, out of place. The blurriness of my vision suddenly came into focus. The scar was gone. Why? How could it be gone? I hurriedly sat up. I stared over my left hand again. The scar was nowhere to be found. I'm sure there had been a scar there. I remember noticing it when I opened the elevator to rescue Sara. Had it just been a figment of my imagination? No, I was sure it hadn't been. I was positive there had been a scar. But why had the scar suddenly vanished? A sense of loss flooded through making me feel like I had a gaping hole in my heart. I sensed that I had lost something critically important, but I was unsure of what. That was how I felt. Sora! Sora! Forgetting that Sara was sleeping, I shouted out for Sora.
Hi, 少年さん、何か?
Sora's voice answered me. Sora, did you do something to me?
何かとは?
Don't pretend you don't know. There was a scar on my left hand. But it's gone now.
ああ、そのことですか。
Sora appeared in the entrance to the room. What are you talking about?
眠っている間に摘出しておきました。
Extracted what?
こちらにいらしてください。
I approached the examination table as Sora suggested.
これです。
Sora pointed to a small shard suspended by a manipulator arm above the examination table.
これが埋まっていたので摘出させていただきました。
What? Gave you the right to do that? It could have been a clue leading to my past. I let loose on Sora without thinking.
はい、ご指摘の点はごもっともです。しかし、体の中に異物を入れておいても何も良いことはありませんよ。それより少年さん、このかけらに見覚えはありませんか?
No, how could I? It didn't make sense to me why Sora would ask such a thing.
このかけらにはある画像が記録されていました。
Sora continued speaking calmly. An image?
ご覧になりますか?
I pinched the shard that had been buried in my thumb between my fingers. This? Oh, it had the same holographic image as in Sara's pendant. There was a picture of a man floating there.
見えるのですか?
Yeah, I can see it.
実はこのホログラム、ある特定の波長の光線を照射しなければ見えない仕組みになっているのです。今はレミのシステムを使ってそのかけらに光線を当てています。このホログラム、製造年代は特定できませんでしたが、とても古いバージョンのものであることは確かです。
I'm a little late, but I just realized that shard is part of the pendant. It has to be.
今、レミューの売店で売っているような商品とは基本的に原理が異なります。かつてのホログラムは物体光と参照光、この2つの光によってできた干渉島を記録したものでした。簡単に言うと、物体光は被写体に反射した光のこと、参照光は物体光を干渉させる光のことです。よろしい。
Sora continued on without giving me time to think.
そしてここからが大事なところなのですが、こうしてできたホログラムを再生するには 記録した時の参照光と同じ波長の光をホログラムに当てなければならないのです。つまりまとめるとこういうことになります。このホログラムのかけらの画像はある特定の波長の光を使って撮影されたものであり、この画像を見るためにはそれと同じ波長の光を当てなければならないということです。蛍光灯の光では見えません。例えば日光やあるいはライターの炎のように高温で発熱する光源が必要なのです。そして
Sora continued her explanation. She said the special wavelength of light was infrared and around 150 nm. nm, well, what's that? I don't know the units for that, what it is. And that ordinary people couldn't see infrared light. She went on to say that if a person were to see infrared, they would even be able to see in the dark. But that they could only see objects that emitted heat. Put another way, objects that gave off heat also emitted infrared rays. And if you could see infrared rays, then you could tell the temperature of something without having to touch it.
この映像はその赤外線を見ることができなければ見えません。この映像が見えるということは、少年さんは赤外線が見えるということです。
But what about Sara? Does that mean that Sara can too?
はい。お二人は赤外線が見える特殊な視力の持ち主ということになります。
Thinking back on it, that probably explained why Takeshi and you couldn't see the image in the pendant. But why was this hologram in my finger? I trembled as I said this. It's the same image as in Sarah's pendant. Are you saying that the missing piece of that pendant has been in my thumb?
それ以外に考えられません。鏡面の断面とかけらの形も一致しています。
But why?
それは少年さん、あなたと松永さんが兄弟だからです。
Really? That explains the other part much more clearly. So I guess maybe the kid and Sara were probably, I don't know, in a room somewhere. They were kept held captive or whatever. It can't be. Huh. I'm quite amazed by that.
二人が赤外線視力を持っているのもそのためです。
That makes sense.
おそらく遺伝によって受け継がれたものなのでしょう。
No. No, no, no.
少年さん、どうしてお喜びにならないのですか？あなたの肉親が見つかったのですよ。記憶を取り戻すためのこれ以上の手がかりがあるでしょうか？
No, no. I held my head and crouched down.
いずれにせよ、これは事実です。受け入れてください。お二人が寝ている間に DNA 鑑定をさせていただきました。データはディスプレイに表示してあります。お二人が兄弟である確率はほぼ 100% です。
No, 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 no! Suddenly the wall to my memory that I had tried so hard to destroy, but had been unable to breach, crumbled. Like a dam that was holding back the overflow of my memory, it burst, unleashing a torrent of images that flooded into my mind. Memories of my life, in no apparent order, flashed across my mind like random slides appearing on the screen. From one to the next, they floated up and vanished. My mind couldn't handle the flood of memories. And then came the darkness. I heard a lullaby coming from somewhere.
まかいかかげし水のせい夢の中より待ち降りぬ今宵鳥船渦巻き鬼早く今夏と待ち降りぬ眠りたもゆるゆるゆら 眠りたも海に抱かれて
Her voice is still amazing every time I hear it. It's awesome. I groggily opened my eyes. I was lying on a hard bed. I heard a voice crying from outside. There was a girl surrounded by a group of bullies in the open space. It was Sara. The kids were being cruel, jeering her and making fun of her in only the way that kids can. I ran up to Sara. The bullies scattered like baby spiders in the wind. Sara said that her precious pendant had been broken. Sara clutched the pendant firmly in her hand. I bent over to pick up the fragment from it. I felt a sudden shock from behind. I was plunged forward. With a sharp pain, the shard was buried in my thumb. Ugh, that's horrible. The kids that always bullied Sara had encircled us. The laughter and howls of our tormentors echoed around us. You bullies! How could you do this to Sara? Forgetting myself, I lunged at the mob of kids. They beat me mercilessly. As I lay on the ground in that open space, I faced skyward. Satisfied with what they had done to me, the bullies had left. Sara came and held out her hands to me.
お兄ちゃん、強いね。
She smiled as she said it. Even though I lost. Blood continued to drip from my finger. Not wanting to worry Sara, I pretended that everything was fine and dismissed it as nothing. I didn't say anything to our teacher. I didn't go to the doctor, I just silently endured the pain. It seemed to me that to tell someone of it would that mean I had lost. In time, the wound closed up. Then one day, a nice lady in a suit came. She told us that there was a place we could go where things would be better. Saying this, the lady held out her hand. We could see things that other people couldn't. At first we thought our abilities were normal, but everything had shunned us. The lady said she wanted to study us. I decided to go along with the idea. Our caretakers at the orphanage were lived happy to see us leave, because they thought we were troublemakers. We fell right into their trap. So this is their small hospital room. Okay, everything makes sense now. Everything started to make sense. Day in and day out, we were marched from that room to that research institute. I was technically right. They were locked up. I wouldn't say... Did I say like kidnapped? Or held hostage or something? That was sorta close. They were just locked up in the hospital room. That's terrible. Being a kid? Like 9, 10 years old? Or how old are they in this memory? I don't know. That's horrible. It's cruel. At night, midnight would stream in from the lone window. The only things I remember are the lifelike logos on the doors we passed every day, and the white frocks of the research employees, and every night the voice of Sara crying in the room next to me. One day, there was something in the air that was different from other days. We were taken from our rooms and led to a research office in a different area. People who had never seen before took me away. Sara alone was left there.
Oni-chan!
I could hear Sara's screams. I shook off the adult hands and ran to where Sara was. The researchers tried to block my path. Sara! Oni-chan! Sara, wait for me. I'll come back for you. I promise. I will come find you. Be a good girl and wait for me.
いい子にして待ってるから。必ず来てね。迎えに来てね。ずっと待ってるから。
I had promised. That was how things were. Back then I promised. I promised to go get her. But I hadn't gone. I couldn't go. I was moved to another facility, and after a while I was taken to a new home. My foster parents were good people. They were good to me if I didn't get out of line, but they had sold their souls too and were controlled by Lieblich. I passed my time under their forgiving but ever-present eyes, not being able to search for Sara. Still, there were times when I did my best to find leads to her. But I didn't even know where the research facility was, and something would always get in my way, and after a while, I couldn't search anymore. I just hadn't been able to help Sara with my limited powers. But no matter what excuses I came up with, the result was the same. I had abandoned Sara. In the isolated clinic room into which the cold moonlight shined. I couldn't keep my promise. Even now, Sara was on the other side of the door. I knew that she was still waiting for me in that miserable little room, still believing in me, just as I had promised. The sense of guilt I felt overpowered me. It left me with an agonizing sense of hopelessness and utter despair. There was nothing I could do. I didn't have any other choice. What else could I have done? That's sad. Kid couldn't keep his promise. But now they're reunited, I guess. When I opened my eyes, I was lying on the bed in the infirmary. I didn't know if someone had brought me there or I had dragged myself unconsciously. I looked up my watch without thinking. How much time had passed since I passed out. Laying on the bed, I looked up at the ceiling and thought about the events leading up to this point. The reason I had known that it was too hot inside the generator room was my infrared vision. Oh, that's how. And the moonlight coming from the inverter unit had been the same thing. Oh, that's why. In the darkness, I had mistaken the heat from the inverter as moonlight. And the shock that I felt when I met Sara made sense too. We were siblings after all. Probably, even without my memory, in the back of my mind I had known. That's why, the first time I had seen Sara. And why had she grasped my thumb in the darkness? Why had she sung that lullaby that time?
本当に知らない？そっか。そうだよね。
It seemed to me that Sara had probably noticed that we were brother and sister. So, I raised myself up. Sara was still asleep in the bed next to me. I stood next to Sara's pillow and stared down at her face. My memory was still a little jumbled, but there was no mistaking that face. It was Sara. Little Sara had grown to be 16. It had to be her. I was sure it was Sara. The sister I had made a promise to find, but then broke. I felt so guilty and ashamed I couldn't look at Sara's face. It was hard just being there. I didn't know what to say to Sara. What excuses could I make to her? No matter what I said to her, it would all ring hollow. I wanted to get out of there before Sara woke up. I walked toward the door.
お兄ちゃん
With her voice, my legs stopped. I didn't have the courage to turn around.
ねえ、お兄ちゃんなんだよね。
Sara continued talking. Each of her words was like a stab in the heart.
お兄ちゃん
No! I spelled the words without thinking.
え
You're wrong about me.
そんなはずない。お兄ちゃんでしょ
No! I sensed that Sara was about to get up from the bed, so I tried to leave.
待ってお兄ちゃん
Her voice sounded just like when she had cried out to me when she was a child, and I froze unable to move.
お兄ちゃんでしょねえ、そうだよね。
Sara grabbed my shoulders.
なんで黙ってるの？こっちを向いてよ。
Sara circled around in front of me, all the time holding my shoulders. But I couldn't bear to look Sara in the face and turned away.
ねえ、お兄ちゃん。なんでこっちを見てくれないの？ねえ、私を見てよ。ねえ、タラ。
No, no, no! I shook off Sarah's hands. Sarah! Sarah threw her arms around me, hugging me tightly. Sarah's eyes stared directly at me.
どうして否定するの？お兄ちゃんでしょ？お兄ちゃんなんでしょ？
No, I'm...
どうして？違わないよ。お兄ちゃんだよ。待ってたんだよ。ずっと待ってたんだよ。お兄ちゃんのことずっと待ってたんだよ。お兄ちゃん。
Sarah fell to the ground and I said nothing to her. I just ran out of the room. That's right, I ran away. I ran from Sarah and from my past. I squatted in the small room in the back of the warehouse. All I could do was just keep running away from Sarah and my past. I was such a coward. Overcome by the memories that had come rushing back to me, I had run away from my sister. I couldn't even accept my own weakness. I denied myself. It was less scary than acknowledging what I've done. I was such a coward. Had I known this would happen, I would have never wanted my memory back. Things were better when I didn't remember anything. Crouched there in the corner, I was paralyzed. I couldn't face Sara, my own sister. All I could do was watch the time pass by. My memory had been completely restored, apart from recent events. I knew my age, address, and phone number. I also remembered my foster mother and father. Still, there was just one crucial thing that I couldn't remember. His name, isn't it? That was... my name. What was my name? What was I called? I didn't know. Why was that the only thing I couldn't remember? As long as I couldn't remember that, I felt incomplete. As if the essence of my existence were concentrated into my name. As long as I couldn't remember my name, I couldn't feel complete. That was how I felt. No matter how much else I remembered, that one point escaped me. Then I thought back. But what it was that had made me lose my memory? The massive guilt I felt towards Sara. I wonder if that was why I had repressed my memory. But there was too much about that theory that didn't make sense. I had lost my memory before meeting Sara, and before the accident at Lehman. And I couldn't remember what I was doing just before that, or why I had come to Lehman. It might have been that I had seen Sara at Lehman, and then it had happened. But something didn't seem right about that either. I couldn't imagine why only my name and recent events would not come back to me. I had already remembered Sara. It wouldn't make sense for me to remember everything. I wonder what kind of amnesia it might be. A sudden sound and shaking made me look up. The next instant, warning alarms started shrieking. All around me, the squeal of straining metal echoed from the structure. The shaking continued on and off. What? I ran out of the room. Water? I noticed something strange as I emerged in the corridor. The water was flowing in. I couldn't believe that water could have reached here.
Sara!
You, what is this? Did something happen? What? Where? With those words of encouragement, you started running. She turned the corner heading for stairs leading to an emergency corridor. What about everybody else? We dashed toward the stairs to an emergency corridor. And climbed to the emergency corridor. Takeshi, Tsugumi, and Sara were already gathered there. What happened? Saying that, he started running ahead of everyone else. Tsugumi followed suit. You pushed my back, encouraging me. I started running. You explained the situation from behind me. I followed Takeshi and Tsugumi as we sprinted the distance of the emergency stairs. We soon reached the stairs. Takeshi and Tsugumi were already climbing.
急げ、こっちだ。
Takeshi's voice rang down from above. I ran, following the sound of their footsteps. As we were trying to escape, Lemu began to shake and screech as metal clashed with metal. But we just kept climbing, moving toward the top. Only the sound of everyone's labored breathing and running footsteps on the stairs echoed throughout the emergency stairs.
もう少しだ。もう少しだぞ。
Takeshi shouted up ahead. Takeshi's voice was full of hope. It was then that we realized it.
マヨがいない。
You shouted it. Huh?
なんだって。
I stopped and looked back. You stood on the stairs stunned and looking downward.
そんな後ろにいたはずなの。私の後ろに。
なんだ。一体どうした。
Takeshi and the others came down the stairs.
蔵なり、マヨがいないの。
なんてことだ。ついてくるのを確認しなかったのか。
最初は後ろにいたの。途中から私も登るのに夢中で。
The stairs shook violently and there was a large sound. At the same time, the lights that dimly lit the stairs went out.
くそ、停電か。今さら引き返すわけにはいかないぞ。今引き返せばみんなおだぶつだ。でも
I'll go. I'll go back. Everybody keep going. Without waiting for a reply, I started rushing down the stairs I had just climbed.
おい、少年。
無理よ。浸水が始まってるのよ。どうやって行くつもり？
Their voices rang out behind me. Swim!
下は真っ暗なのよ。
No problem. I can see. I can actually see the different parts of the stairs by their different temperatures. It was the first time that I've ever been thankful for my unusual vision. I went down the stairs and came out at Dwight Stock's emergency corridor. It looked like the emergency power had already died. I wonder where Sara might be, I thought frantically. If she had turned back part way, then she probably wouldn't have made it to Dritstock. But I couldn't be sure. If she had gone all the way down to Dritstock, then I would never make it in time if I looked around Dwightstock first. I didn't know what to do. I decided whether I would start looking on Dritstock or from Dwightstock. Okay, what did the kid say? If we looked on Dwightstock? To look around Dwightstock. So I'm gonna take the risk and go down to Dritstock. I decided to start searching from Dritstock. I figured the water pressure would be higher there and the flooding more serious. If she were in Dritstock, then I'll have to start there to have any hope of finding her. I headed down the stairs to Dritstock. Reaching the emergency corridor, I arrived at Dritstock. I remember the decision here, will determine if you get the good or bad ending. This is the only decision where I didn't look at the guide for this route. So hopefully I get the good ending. If Sara were here, where would she be? The conference room or the control room? Or could she be in one of the attractions? I didn't have much time. Peering down through the emergency hatch, I realized that the flooding had already progressed a lot. It seemed best to check each room from the emergency corridor rather than going all the way down. I wonder if Sara really were on this far. But having come so far, I knew there was no going back. Crap, did I choose the wrong one? I ran through the emergency corridor. I exited on the emergency corridor furthest outside. Opening an emergency hatch to each room, I peeked inside. If Sara were there, I'd been able to see her body heat. I looked in the conference room and the control room, but there was no sign of her there. Water only continued to rise. The doors beyond the elevator hall didn't open. I frantically ran down the emergency corridor, moving from one attraction to the next. I checked the rest of the area that looked down into the Lemuria ruins, but Sara wasn't there. Maybe she wasn't on this floor. Crap! I'm gonna get the bad ending. Oh well. The sound of the water grew louder, and the shaking of the structure stronger. If I didn't hurry, I wouldn't make it back to his white stalk. I knew how... Did it freeze on me? I knew I had to hurry to the emergency stairs. I sprinted to the stairs and up this white stalk. I'd lost a lot of time. Crap, I am gonna get the bad ending. I had to hurry. Finally, I arrived back at the white stalk. Layman was shaking terribly, and the area below the emergency hatch had already filled with water. It looked like water was about to flood into the corridor. I plunged into the water. Swimming desperately to the security office, I forgot the pain in my arm and looked inside. Sara wasn't there. I was able to steal her breath using the air at the top of the room. Where could Sara be? I dove into the water again and swam for the infirmary. The infirmary door was open. I looked inside. Sara! Sara's body stood out white in the dark water. This room also had a pocket of air near the ceiling. Sara was just barely floating there. I floated to the surface. Sara! I swam up next to Sara.
Cha?
Are you okay, Sara?
大丈夫だよ。
She smiled weakly. She was spent and unsteady on her feet.
お兄ちゃん、なんで戻ってきたの？
I came back to get you, of course.
迎えに？
Sure, I promised, didn't I?
そっか。やっと迎えに来てくれたんだね。
Oh, I'm so sorry, Sara. I know I made you wait such a long time.
いいんだよ、もう。こうして来てくれたんだもん。
Sara, why did you come back?
これを取りに。
Saying that, Sara removed the fragment that was embedded in my finger. That's...
これを忘れてたから。
You came back for that?
だって、これはお兄ちゃんが私を守ってくれた大切な証だから。これがなくなってしまったら、お兄ちゃんとの絆までなくしてしまいそうな気がしたから。
Sara.
ごめんね。お兄ちゃんまで巻き込んじゃって。
Sara, it's okay.
ごめんなさい。
It's alright. I only came to keep my promise.
お兄ちゃん、ありがとう。
I desperately tried to prop up to Sara to keep her from sinking.
ごめんね。もうダメ。浮かんでいられないや。
Sara, hold on.
ごめんね。ごめんね、お兄ちゃん。
Sara, hang on. Fight, Sara.
なんだかぼーっとしてきちゃった。
Sara, I remembered that the air pressure here was compressed to 4.5 atmospheres because of the water pressure. Sara had probably gotten oxygen poisoning from breathing the oxygen-heavy air. That compounded with the fatigue from treading water in the cold seawater. The combination had probably rapidly robbed Sara of her strength. Sara, hang in there.
お兄ちゃん、頑張るね。でも、もう体が動かない。
I didn't know what to do. And I finally found Sara. Anyway, let's head for the emergency corridor. Before the water hadn't flooded into the emergency corridor. If we could just get there. Listen, Sara. I grabbed the weakened Sara and tried to dive underwater. It was then that it happened. A metallic scream echoed through Lemu as that shock racked the structure. At the same time, the flow of the water increased dramatically. The shock shook Sara loose from my grasp. I hurriedly struggled to lift her up. It looked like she had swallowed some water. Her breathing was labored. What should I do? What could I do? With a dull groan, Leimu tilted, causing the water to ripple. Hang on, Sara, just hang on! I called to Sara as I desperately floated in the waves on the surface.
お兄ちゃん、ごめんね。ごめんね。もう、体が動かないよ。
No, Sara, hang on! We finally found each other. Sara, open your eyes. Sara!
お兄ちゃん、来てくれて。ありがとう。
Sara's body went limp. I swore inside my mind. Why? I wonder if there was no way that I could save Sara? I took a big breath and, holding Sara, dove underwater. I meant to get us out of Leimu. If I let us stick around, we would have been crushed. The irregular shocks continued, and the sounds of metal and metal echoed harshly. Leimu was already mostly filled with water. I ducked into a crack running down the wall that was just big enough and slipped outside. There, the sprawling darkness of the ocean surrounded me. My only hope was the light piercing through the water from above. Clutching Sara, I swam toward it. But swimming with my injured arm and holding a limp Sara was nearly impossible. The water pressure constricted my chest, forcing out my air. But I kept swimming. My body was screaming for air. My eyes clouded. Flashes of white light darted across my vision. It was no good. I couldn't see. I wasn't sure if I were heading upward or maybe downward. In my right arm, Sara felt cold, nearly frozen. I didn't think I'd make it. My arms refused to move. And my legs. I looked at Sara and I couldn't take anymore. I swallowed water. My consciousness was slipping. My body had no power. Sara. I'm sorry, Sara. I just couldn't quite seem to save Sara. Sara. The darkness enveloped me, stealing away my consciousness. Boom, bad ending. Well, that was different than my other episodes. I got the bad ending first. That was stupid. I don't know what I was thinking, going to Dritstock first. That's stupid. Anyway, I'm gonna do the good ending immediately, like right now, cause yeah, I can make it a good hour long. It's not gonna be terribly long, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, see the good ending. No, I thought Sara was somewhere in Dwightstock. I didn't know why, but I was sure of it. She was probably somewhere in Dwightstock. I knew it might be a meaningless hunch, but maybe it was our sibling bond talking to me. Sara and I had the same blood in our veins. That was my thinking. It was probably my imagination, but it was all I had to bet on. I opened the emergency hatch and saw that water had already covered the 3/4 of the corridor. Without hesitating, I threw myself in. Right, the writing was suggesting that Sara might not be at Dwightstock because Dritstock, I don't know, she might have been at Dritstock or something. Oh crap, whatever. The water flowed unpredictably. Now, what I'm getting is that she might have been at Dritstock and that started flooding. So I chose that because I thought maybe she might have been there. But it's revealed that she wasn't. If you get what I'm saying, basically. The water flowed unpredictably, with whirlpools forming here and there. I enjoyed the pain in my right arm and swam desperately. First, I looked in the security office. There was no source of heat that looked like Sara. From there, I made for the warehouse, but Sara wasn't there. I checked the merry-go-round, but she wasn't there either. Ahead of me was the elevator hall. Again, no Sara. I swam back up the corridor. Water had completely covered the entrance to the infirmary. I took a breath and dove underwater. I put my hand on the door and peered inside. And there was Sara. Sara's body heat made her stand out brightly against the cool surrounding darkness. I went into the infirmary and floated to the surface. Sarah looked surprised when I broke through to the surface.
少年。お兄ちゃん。
Sara, you're alright.
お兄ちゃん。どうして？
I promised, didn't I? I told you that I would come find you, didn't I? May 7th. Finally, the roaring sound stopped and the flow of the water slowed. The squeaking and screeching of metal on metal also died down. It seemed that the flooding had stopped. There was still a little air left in the ceiling of the infirmary. It was kind of like a cup flipped upside down, filled mostly with water. Sara and I were floating there. It looks like things have quieted down a bit. I looked at Sara. In the darkness, the only thing throwing off a gentle aura of light was Sara. Sara, are you alright?
大丈夫。ちょっと寒いかな。
Sara forced a smile from me. Sara, why did you come back? All you had to do was go a little more and you would have been saved.
ね、お兄ちゃん、怒らない？
Mad? Why would I get mad?
だって。
Just tell me. I thought something was strange. From the beginning, Sara had always seemed like she had the upper hand in our relationship. But now that we knew that we were brother and sister, it felt like things had been reversed. Now Sara was relying on me, like when we were kids.
ね、お兄ちゃん、これ。
Sara lifted her right hand. Pinched between her fingers was the shard of the mirror from my finger. Hey, it's that piece of the mirror.
途中でこれを置きっぱなしだったのに気がついたの。
So you came back for something like this?
こんなものじゃないよ。お兄ちゃんが必死で守ってくれた大事なものだよ。
Sara, but this isn't something worth risking life to come back for. You had the pendant anyway.
ごめんね。お兄ちゃんまで巻き添えにしちゃって。
I chose to turn back. You can't blame yourself for that.
ごめん。
After that, Sara didn't speak for a while. Sara?
本当はそれだけじゃないの。
Huh?
外に出るのが怖かったの。
Scared? Of what?
外に出たらまた元のような日々が戻ってくるんだって思ったら、それ以上足が動かなくなったの。
Like it was? What are you talking about?
またライプリヒに監視されて自由も何もない世界に戻るのかと思ったら、もう二度とこんな自由を味わえないのかと思ったら動けなかった。
Paralyzed?
レミューに閉じ込められてからみんなは何とか脱出しようとしてたみたいだけど、私は嬉しかった。どこにも監視する人もいない。私が私の意志で何でも決めていいんだって、そう思ったらすごく嬉しかった。ライプリヒの研究所に入ってからこんな自由を感じたことは一度もなかったから。
Sarah's word left me stunned. I wonder why I'd never thought of things that way before. Lightbrick had written me off early on. I figured that was probably because the only special power I had was seeing infrared light. But Sara was probably different. The way that she had been able to use computers, you had called her a first-rate hacker. It was probably only the beginning. After I left the institute, Sara must have lived under constant observation and undergone experiments. Thinking about it then amazed me.
最初はこの事故も私の能力を試すための実験か何かかと思ったの。ソラが RSD だって分かった後は私の監視役なんじゃないかって疑ったりもしたんだ。でもナッキュ先輩もいたし、どうもそうではなくて本当の事故なんだって分かった後は嬉しかった。今までずっとどこにいても誰かが私のことを監視してた。高校の中ででも街に出てもずっと逃げ出そうとしても無駄だった。 私は研究所に帰るしかなかった。
Oh man, that's sad.
研究所に帰ればまた実験や検査の繰り返し。私には自由なんかどこにもなかった。だからね、私にはあの事故が嬉しかったの。そんなこと言ったらいけないのかもしれないね。みんなは必死だったんだし。でも私には今までこんな自由はなかったから。
Sara. That was all that I could say. Sarah's each and every word made my heart ache. I knew that wasn't Sarah's intention, but it felt like every word of hers was a confession to me. Of course, I've been under surveillance as well, but I've been nowhere near as strict. As long as I didn't do anything out of the ordinary, it was like there was no one there. And the whole time I've been living carefree. But Sara had been under Liebleck's careful watch the whole time, their guinea pig. Why hadn't I gone to help Sara earlier? I promised that I would, but I hadn't. Of course I had tried, but everything I did was blocked by Liebleck's far-reaching influence. Still, I knew there could be no excuses. Why hadn't I tried harder? Why?
お兄ちゃん、
Sara was calling to me. I had been daydreaming in my own world.
お兄ちゃん、ありがとう。
For what?
来てくれたから。
No, I left you there by yourself. I didn't come for you.
ううん、来てくれたよ。ありがとう。来てくれて。
Sara said this and smiled. The smile almost seemed tinged with resignation.
もういいんだ。
Resignation.
私はここで死んでもいい。
Sara, what are you saying?
だって最後に自由を味わえたし、お兄ちゃんにもこうして会えたんだもん。あんな生活に戻るくらいなら、いっそこのままここで死んでしまった方がいいよ。私には今まで死ぬ自由もなかったから。
Her words shocked me into silence. I had no idea that Sarah's life up until now had been so hard. But, no, Sara.
お兄ちゃん？
Don't talk like that. We're going to live, no matter what. I wasn't about to let Sara die here. There was absolutely no way that I would let Sara die. If you die here, then it means you've lost to them. You're going to live, survive, no matter what. It was my responsibility to help Sara live. Sara, let's go, I said.
どこに？
To the ocean surface.
どうやって？
We'll swim.
無理だよ、気圧が。
We'll be okay. The air pressure here has been compressed by the water pressure. We're about 4.5 atmospheres here. Even if we go out into the ocean from here, our lungs will be okay.
でも、
We don't know that help will come for us, and even if it does, it might be too late. Besides, it's too dangerous for us to stay here. Listen, Sara, we're breathing at 4.5 atmospheres. If we stay here, we're in danger of oxygen poisoning or nitrogen narcosis. And we have no idea how long Lemu will hold. If Lemu collapses, then we'll get dragged down with it. It's too dangerous to stay here.
ねえ、
What?
私が泳げないの知ってるでしょ？
You'll be okay. You're kind of swimming right now, aren't you? You just have to remember the lessons I gave you. Oh, that means so much now. The swimming lessons with Sara. It's more brother-sister bonding.
でも違うよ。今は浮かんでるだけだもん。外に出て泳ぐのとは違うよ。
Sara, you'll be okay. Don't worry. I'll lead you. I'll pull you all the way.
そんなの無理だよ。
We can do it. Believe in your brother. I came here. I came to help you, Sara.
お兄ちゃん。
Sara, believe in me. Sara clasped a pendant she was wearing around her neck. Let's go, Sara.
お兄ちゃん。
I pulled Sara along with me and we left the infirmary. We We moved from air pocket to air pocket, looking desperately for a place where the wall had collapsed in. When we finally found a tear big enough for us to squeeze through, we doubled back to the nearest air pocket. We took a number of short breaths to boost the oxygen level in our blood. And finally, taking a big breath, I grabbed onto Sarah's hand and led her through the hole and into the ocean. Oh, I can see them. With the walls and floors gone, for an instant I lost sense of which way was up and which was down. Soon I saw a faint light in the water above. I held Sara under my arm and headed for that light. I desperately thrashed my legs and swam with my broken arm. The water pressure was slowly pushing the air from my lungs. Sara's face was twisted in pain. I was in agony. Still, I swam, struggling to pull Sara toward the light. I kept kicking, believing that if I could make it to the source of the light, then everything would be okay. Even if all of the oxygen was squeezed out of my lungs, I was not able to let Sara die here. That thought kept me moving. Slowly, gradually, the light was getting bigger. Sara's arm squeezed me into desperation. Hoping to give Sara courage, I gripped her tighter with my left arm. As if in response, Sara gave me a smile and started trying to swim upward. I matched her movement, swimming desperately. Come, Sara. Let's go. Toward the light. I was never going to let Sara go again. I was never going to leave my precious sister behind again. Never again. Sara. I like that ending. But it doesn't show what happens after they get out. Or does Sara have a epilogue too? Like you? Well, we'll just have to wait and see. I liked her route. Her route revealed a lot of things, especially something that I didn't think of. You know, them bringing brother and sister. This is the only game where there was a brother and sister twist. I'm not gonna mention it because, you know, spoilers. Enjoy the credits, because I don't know what else to say. All I can say was that was pretty enjoyable. I liked how it revealed a lot. Anyway, that's it. So yeah, just enjoy the credits. I'm not gonna say anymore. Wait to do Coco's route. Anyway, that's all for me. Goodbye. Yes! I heard epilogue. I heard a low mechanical sound from far away. The breeze passed through the trees, leaves making them rustle. The same wind gently caressed my cheeks. Wind? Rustling leaves? I opened my eyes slowly. I didn't know where I was for a moment. Had there been a place like this in Lemu? I looked up. There was no ceiling. There was just sprawling, starry sky. It was not like a fake sky like in the cosmic rail room, but a sky that felt broad and infinite. I was on the ground. More precisely, I was on a floating island, Insulno. Yes, we had swam to it. The nearly 100 feet from Zweitstock to the surface. Somehow I had climbed into the emergency entrance of Insulno, holding Sara, unconscious in my arms. I remembered checking to see if Sara was alright. After that, I probably fainted from fatigue and a lack of oxygen. I woke up with a start. Looking around, and was relieved to see Sara lying down next to me. Her chest rose and fell Faintly, I could hear the regular sound of her breathing. I looked around again. I checked around the edge of Insulno, which was a lush park. I could see the administration center, hotel, and the tower of light behind the trees. It was still dark, so it didn't seem I had been unconscious very long. Maybe about an hour or so. I was impressed that we'd been able to swim all the way to the surface. I went over it again in my head. Suddenly, a conversation in the control room with Sara came to my mind.
15階建てのビルを想像してみてください。
Is it Sara? Or...
あるいは3階建ての校舎を5個積み重ねたものでも良いかもしれません。
5 schools stacked? No way, I couldn't swim that.
では、10階建てのビルではどうですか？水深34メートル。ツバイトシュトックがこの位置にあります。
100 feet. How had I responded to Sora? I remembered. I said it was impossible. Sora said I was being rational. But even Sora could be wrong. You were able to swim it, Sora. Now remind me, I wonder what had happened to Sora. Has she suffered the equivalent of death from the blackout? No, Sora was artist degenerated. She wasn't human. She couldn't die. I knew that, but I had been with her for such a long time. And Sora was, how could I describe it? She was so human. I felt a blunt sense of sadness, as if I had lost a close friend. Sarah's voice pulled me back to reality. This was not the time to thinking about such things. Sara? Sara? I shook Sarah's shoulder gently. Sara opened her eyes slightly. Soon her eyes opened widely. Sara hurriedly sat up. Sara didn't seem to understand the situation. Sara, this is Insulno. We're safe now. We made it. Over 100 feet from Zweigstock. Yes, we are alive. You are, and I am too. Yeah, Sara, we did it. We survived. I told you to trust me. Sara smiled. She suddenly put her hand on her chest. She was probably touching the pendant under her shirt, checking to make sure it was still there. Looking relieved, she pulled the pendant out and grasped it in her hand. Sara whispered softly. I knew that the pendant was an irreplaceable lucky charm for Sara. Her face suddenly clouded over as she spoke. I think they're alright. By the time I turned back, they already climbed fairly high. If they kept going, they should have reached the surface. Sara looked relieved. We had made it to the surface safely, but Sara didn't look very... Was she worried about being taken back to Lifelike after all? Hey, Sara. Let's just keep running. Let's run away. Yes, from them. I mean, from Lifelike. It is possible. Think about it, Sara. This island has to be another chaos, right? Layman flooded and the whole complex is totally destroyed. And since you and the others got out, this place should be in major confusion, right? We'll be telling everyone how we were left behind in Layman. And for you and the others, it's the truth. If Lifelike has their doubts and tries to look into them, that's as far as they can investigate. So right now, everyone, including Lifelike people, will be turning their attention to Layman and looking under the ocean. They might actually think that we are already dead. So, now is... Right now. Now's the chance we've been waiting for. We're already here, so it's impossible for them to find us in Laymu. And if they don't find us in Laymu, they will expand the search for us to the sea around this area. You might suspect that we died and the current carried us off somewhere.
その間に私たちが身を隠しちゃえば追ってくることなんかできないはずだよね。
Yeah, not sure if we can pull it all off that easily. But we'll still have plenty of head start before they figure out the truth.
そっか。うん。あ、でも。
Suddenly Sarah looked down.
でも、この島からどうやって逃げるの？
What?
だって、ここから出る方法がなきゃ逃げようがないでしょ？
Yeah, that's...
それは？
Sarah looked at me as if she was full of confidence in me. Well... She had me. I hadn't thought about that. I thought we would be alright if we could just make it to the surface. I desperately tried to think of something. I know! I've got it! There should be all kinds of people around right now that aren't normally here, like construction workers and technical staff. So ships and helicopters should come and go frequently. First of all, we find some clothes and change. Especially your uniform. It really stands out.
そうだね。
Sarah looked herself over again. And if we can't get aboard a helicopter, then we can sneak onto some ship and get to some port. And after that, we're going to be alright.
そっか。やっぱりお兄ちゃんすごいね。そこまで考えてたんだ。
No, well, sure. Sarah was innocently happy. I thought to myself that I could fight to protect her smile with my life. I thought that would be my mission. Let's go, Sara. I held out my left hand to Sara. Sara reached out to me hesitantly. I held her hand tight and squeezed it tight. The warmth of her soft hand spread to mine. For an instant, the memory of Sara holding my hand, flashed across my mind. A fragment of my hand, that shard had helped me retrieve my memory and rediscover the bond between Sara and me. Let's go, Sara.
お兄ちゃん。
Gonna be free.
自由に。
Yes, free. I would never leave Sara again. I would protect Sara no matter what. We started running toward freedom. That satisfied me much more. Yeah. Oh, so in that ending, opening the third eye, the last chapter, finding Coco. That's awesome. Can't wait to finish this novel. And with plot twists and then finding all the unanswered questions. The main ones are... what are the main ones? The whole Coco thing. Oh, and why Takeshi and Kid don't have voices, or why, I've noticed, why they don't show their faces in any of them. So yeah, I mean, I can't personally say why they don't have any voices or why they don't show their faces, because I doubt the creator is gonna use the same exact trick. So them being old is out of the question. Oops, spoiler alert. But them being old is out of the question. It's slightly hinted, but I doubt it's because they're old. So either we're somehow drastically different, that's why the Kid and Takeshi don't have a voice, and why we're not shown them. Or maybe we're actually entirely different people, and for some reason the characters perceive us as the same, maybe? I don't know. Because the characters saw us. You know, like you and everybody else saw us when in the prologue. You know, when we saw the characters' faces and stuff and their voices. So I don't know. I know it's gonna be explained, but yeah. Anyway, I'm excited, so yeah. See you next episode where I start Coco's route and we start solving all these mysteries. See you then.